Bonjour tout le monde. Hello again. Welcome. This is obviously a very popular panel that people want to hear. So if you have an empty seat beside you, can you just put up your hands so that folks standing on the side, just put up your hands so folks know you have a seat. And those of you that want to come and sit, you want to get a chair if you can. I don't know if you know this, but this panel has prepared a modern dance. They're doing at the end of it, so you don't want to miss that.
Is it for TV, right?
Be good? Let's see how many people we can get seated. Again, if you have an empty seat, just throw up your hand so folks on the side can come find you and get themselves comfortable for this great panel conversation. Thank you all. That's very helpful. I know that I see you got the front seat. Good. There's a seat right here. Excellent. Look at this. There's another seat right over here if you're looking. This panel is called Accelerating Enterprise Adoption of Agentic AI, and we have an incredible panel, as always, with us here. Let me tell you, I'll introduce them starting from this end and work on our way down. Group President, Business Markets, AI, and Ateco at Bell is John Watson. Sitting beside Mr. Watson is co-founder and CEO of Cohere, Aidan Gomez. Thanks for being here, Aidan. And of course, beside them, sitting in the middle, the Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation. You got to be Excellency yesterday. Yeah. I was thinking maybe today you can be Holiness. Yeah. I'm not sure what you want. If we want to try that, we can try that. The Honorable Evan Solomon. Beside him, Chief Science Officer and Senior Vice President of Data at AI at RBC is Fonteni Agrafioti. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, the CEO and our big wig here. We're so grateful you have time in a very busy day from running this whole ship to running this panel is the CEO and CMO of Scale AI, Isabelle Turcotte. Take it away, Isabelle.
Thank you, Dave. I like your ideas of dancing. Maybe I would be more comfortable than asking questions now, but we'll see for the dancing after. Thank you so much for joining us. It's meant to be a big highlight of our conference, these discussions, as we will be discussing adoption of AI through our large corporation, RBC and Bell, and understand exactly why you're doing it and how you're doing it. So over the last 2 days, we've been discussing how can we accelerate adoption within our Canadian businesses, and how can this adoption be the lever of and a key part of our Canadian solutions development. Understand how we can create a solid AI industry with, yes, Canadian solutions offering, but also with a strong demand for those products. So in this panel, we wish to hear from you what have been the use cases that are setting a difference in your operation. We also wish to know why you picked Cohere as our homegrown AI builder to help you accelerate your own transformation, but also the ones of your customers. And what's next for each of your organization. So I'll start with you, Fonteni. RBC is Canada's largest bank by total asset and market capitalization. You've been at the forefront of AI for years. Why do you see agentic AI as the next important step for RBC? And in which areas of the bank, like whether client services or back office operations or new offering, do you see the strongest opportunities?
Yes. Hi, Isabelle. Hi, everyone. I'll tell you about RBC, but can I first say it's so wonderful to be here again in Montreal and just take a step back and really let sink in the fact that we were only just a few years ago gathering up around this city that was in so many ways the birthplace of modern artificial intelligence. And we were wondering about, are we going to do it? Are we serious about it? Is this going to happen? Are we going to invest? Is our industry ready? And look at us today. I mean, we have one of the top tech companies here on stage. We have an AI minister on stage. We have 2 big corporates on stage, and it's actually happening. It's just so amazing to see it finally coming to life for our country, and I want to say that. So RBC, so what are we doing in AI with RBC? So it's interesting because for us, we've been at it for about a decade now, and it feels like recently AI came out of the lab and it became one of our top business priorities. If you pay attention at all to what banks do in financial services, you may have noticed that we've recently announced that a financial target for artificial intelligence. So we committed to our investors that we are going to grow the value of the Royal Bank by up to $1 billion over the next 3 years using AI and Gen AI. And it's a very bold, very ambitious goal, very brave for us to come forward and do that. But the reason why we felt comfortable to do so at this time is 3 things. Number one, we were early adopters. It was about a decade ago that we created an institute, Borealis, that brought into the bank computer scientists and PhDs and professors, people that wouldn't otherwise seek to have jobs within a financial institution. And we built a research lab. And we have labs here in Montreal, in Vancouver, in Toronto, and we really invested in understanding the value of the data that RBC has and how we can use that to build our competitive advantage with intellectual property in these domains. So we got the experts early on in-house, and they learned banking. Alongside that, we started investing in our infrastructure, and that was very important, because you really can't milk them as much out of AI today unless you've done a little bit of that work, if not most of it. And so being a bank, we didn't build this company with AI in mind, right? Like that wasn't the case when we started banking clients. But over time, we did the work to centralize our data, house it in one platform, cleaning up, organizing, investing in having the necessary compute capacity so we can train models at scale. And we created a platform internally that we call Lumina that houses and unifies data from across our enterprise. So it's primed for more modern artificial intelligence. And lastly, we took advantage of our data. In many ways, before AI, we really hadn't understood the value and the predictive power of our transactional history, market data, risk data, as much as we can today. We have the tools to mine insights from them and really leverage them. We've been able to train foundation models that are banking models at the core. Like Command is a large language model. We train large transaction models, or a model called Atom. And we use it for many different banking tasks, and it's been very successful for us. And so with these 3 ingredients, we made the promise that we're going to increase the value of the bank. And the way we're going at it, the short answer is all of these 3 areas. So client service, back office, risk management, we're investing across the board. Some examples of how we've been successful using this technology so far is in our advice centers, our contact centers. So if you bank with us and you call us and you ask a question, usually we would have to put you on hold and have to go find an answer, going through large policy and procedure documents, which are not meant for humans to read. Trust me, they're like 100-page long PDFs for how to transfer money. And so our advisors were trying to get that information as quickly as possible. This is a very large operation for us. Clients don't like waiting on the line to be connected to a human. And so using Gen AI, we've been able to reduce substantially the call handling time down by 30%. We've been able to reduce the cost of our operating centers there. And at the same time, Net Promoter Score went up. Our clients liked the interactions they're having with RBC more since we started using Gen AI to assist those interactions. So that's just one example where we've used this technology. We've also been very successful in adjudicating credit using artificial intelligence and using more the insights from our own data. We now know that by leveraging the wealth of knowledge that comes from the data that we have in RBC, we're able to better understand our clients, better understand overall risk tolerance, capacity to take on loans, and we've been able, using that knowledge, to extend a lot more loans and money to Canadians than what we would have without AI. So we're just able to understand our clients better. And of course, the moment you're able to manage that risk better for a bank, that is the core of our business, right? Like it touches our bottom line right away. We're very excited about our future.
And if you were to compare your approach with the rest of the banking industry, how would you compare it to the others?
So I think the fact that we've invested in research early has paid off for us. It was a leap of faith, but it was an ingredient that's so important because every innovation that happens in machine learning today, no one starts with transaction data or fraud data or market data. Scientists are attracted to images and videos and language, and so all that innovation happens in these domains. And the choice for us was either we're going to wait in line until someone makes that available for our domain, or we're going to invest in the people that understand it, that are able to leverage that right away, make that useful for the banking environment, a very strict and very regulated environment where most of modern AI wouldn't be available out of the box. And then, of course, put that innovation and that every time we break a frontier, we would publish that research and put that in the public domain. And our partnership with Cohere has been very important on that front. And as we thought about generative AI and how we scale Gen AI tooling across the enterprise, we're really eager to put that in every employee's hands. But we're very mindful of all the risk that we're managing. We have a core responsibility to protect our clients and our clients' data. And so it's important that we do so in a very responsible way. It wasn't easy for us to adopt cloud served models out of the box and serve them into any employee. And so the partnership with Cohere has really helped us accelerate that path because we're able to now, we have a company that we can work with, that we can sit down, deploy models in our own data centers, in our own AI farms, airtight environments, and we now allow our employees to have access to them.
And we'll come back to what you're doing with Cohere. We'll go to John next. Like RBC, Bells operate at massive scale with millions of customers and complex operations across the country. Before we move on your Agentic AI project with Cohere, would you want to tell us more about how you started with your Bell AI fabric ecosystem first?
For sure, thank you. And Fotini, fantastic answer, and an incredible number of parallels to what we've done. So the data centricity, probably in year 16 of pulling data together, I don't think will ever be done, but 9,000 data silos and a lot of heavy lifting and not the glamorous work. AI's got the headlines now. 16 years ago, pulling data together had no headlines. But at that time, we built, and I ran operations as an executive officer, and I had data engineering, AI coming a little bit later. We built software at the edge of customer service. We built software at the edge of technicians and software at the edge of customers in the form of apps, as well as an NBA or intelligent experience engine. And as we built that software, it may not have been the most eloquent. Some had 10 million lines of code, but it had incredible insight and IP around how to operationalize multi-billion-dollar labor groups to great effect for better customer experience. The wonderful thing happened as we got through to neural nets, and then around 2017 was the chance to apply beautiful machine learning to all facets of that. And when you've done the work and heavy lift to really understand the business, bring the data together, it supercharged it. And we all know what happened in the end of November in 2022. And it's been an explosive increase in terms of creation. The one problem we ran into, and we got up to probably 300 applications either in production, in development, or proof of concept that we're running today at scale. When you ask what domains in the company, there's not a domain, a business unit, a function that doesn't have AI applications supporting, enabling. The problem we ran into, the difficult thing, was enabling AI through legacy stack. It doesn't work. There was one application we built. So we took an NLU about 4 years ago, natural language understanding. We had a live conversation with an agent and a customer, and we wanted to help to have a better outcome. So we spun the NLU at 60 seconds. We looked at the conversation, looked at the words, and we provided advocacy back to the agent to have better outcomes real time. It required 30 milliseconds of latency to drill back into the core, a beautiful legacy stack that wasn't so beautiful, punch that back out to the edge and make something happen. It was $6 million per idea. So we could create the AI, It was a beautiful R&D development creation. You could not operationalize it. So the big decision for us is, and it fits into our strategy for our business unit, to operationalize AI at scale. It's not just all the AI team. You then have to change your stack to allow you to operationalize quickly with the right flows and stack components to it. And it was a big decision for us. In fact, it led to the creation of a tech co, which we launched here in Montreal, the heart of tech and creativity, in March of this year. So it was really important to enable that. So the future for us in terms of AI, I can talk a little about the Cohere if you like. We're 7 weeks in since signing, Aiden, and we had lots of back and forth getting to that. 7 weeks in, we go live with North on October 6th. So that may be a record.
Wow.
Fatini, not comparing. The applause is good.
We did it faster.
This is a made in Canada success story. So we're super excited. The potential, the collaboration, and we have a list of things we want to do with North, Aiden, that's longer than 10 pages. We have to pick 5, and we're going to make that happen. So super excited. It's pretty fresh on our side. We're going to take some lessons. I'm going to have to connect with Fatini after this session, but it's super exciting, incredible.
Yeah, we've been clapping because, in fact, with everything you've built before, like that you've been able to launch that quickly, that is, or going to launch that quickly. But what drives that decision on moving forward with Agentic AI and moving forward with Cohere? What created this sparkle on your side?
So I sat with Pierre. He's probably our best architect here in Montreal with a tech co. And he was going to help me polish up some notes before I came in. And he said, okay, here's what you got to tell folks. Agentic AI, it's more expensive, it's harder, and it's not as accurate. And I said, come on, I can't, that's not the starting point. He said, hold on, wait. The punchline is, it can get into the messy middle. It can radically change what you can do as an enterprise. It's not summarizing documents and emails. I did use it to summarize our Prime Minister's message in the video on the weekend, but it allows you to get into the hard stuff, and you could not get there otherwise. It would be impossible. So we couldn't be happier in terms of the Cohere relationship, wall to wall. From a licensing, we're not buying a la carte as you go. It's going to now allow us to enable the entire company to bring this to life, and we've got the platform to do it. But importantly, when we build that with Aiden and his team, we're taking it to market. So it's not just an internal lens. We'll take that to the private sector, public sector, as an integrator, as an expert on making Cohere come to life for large organizations. And that's probably one of the most important parts of the story.
Okay, and perfect. We'll talk about it after. We'll go to Aiden. In light of what Fatini and John just said, in your AI builders perspective, how do you work with enterprise that are making these strategic choices? Like, do you convert them into starting point?
Yeah, well, I think, first off, Fatini and John, thank you so much for believing in Cohere and taking an early bet on us. There's a story that I tell anyone who will listen. Fatini and Dave McKay at RBC, they were our first customer for North. North was still in development. Like, Cohere had deployed it internally, we had plugged it into all our internal systems, but we had no external customers. We hadn't even spoken about it publicly. But we showed Fatini and Dave, and they bet on us. And since then, we've added over 100 mil of revenue on this product that they bet on early. So I think that's an example of Canadian leaders, Canadian champions, betting on our players, betting on our team, and the outcome is just extraordinary. And so we're completely committed to delivering on Dave's promise for $1 billion, hopefully many billions for Bell. And so we want to help Canada's champions become dramatically more effective, dramatically more productive. Bell and RBC, they're not easy customers. They're hard customers. And we want that. We want hard customers with extremely high bars in terms of security, in terms of the massive outcomes that they need to drive, the list of hundreds of use cases that we have to go execute on together. That's what we want. So our engagement model is about preserving privacy, so ensuring that we can deploy on-prem, even air-gapped, inside of the data centers of our partners, as well as actually being involved in executing their success. So not just saying, here's our technology, good luck, have fun, hope it goes well, but actually showing up and ensuring that they succeed. And so our teams have been working together 6 weeks on this side, many, many months on this side. And I think the collaboration, it feels like one team going after one goal. And so I'm just incredibly proud and excited to have these two great Canadian champions as Cohere's customers.
Great, thank you. And as there is a lot of AI builders also in the room today, I think they'll love to hear from you. What would be the lesson you've learned dealing with two of our largest Canadian organizations, or how to go about like finding the next one?
Yeah, you know, the story of Cohere, we're 6 years old now. And initially, almost all of our business came from outside of Canada. And so 2 years ago, I think something like 99 point, it was some decimal point, was outside of Canada. And so if you had asked me back then, I would have said, you know, Canadian enterprises are slow to adopt, maybe they don't want to bet on us. But something changed 18 months ago where the climate just shifted. Canadians started to realize we need to bet on our own ecosystem. We need to buy our own technology, and we need to buy our own IP. For too long, like, we've been the ones who have invested in the research, our tax dollars went into creating the technology, and then we've bought our IP back from other countries who commercialized it, which is insane. And so I think that the country is waking up to that. I think that the current geopolitical climate is making people aware. We need to bet on ourselves. We need to be our own first customer. And so there's never been a better opportunity to start a company in Canada. For entrepreneurs who are looking and wondering, hey, maybe I should go down to the Valley, maybe I should go down to YC, there's more capital down there, et cetera. You have capital sources like Radical and Innovia. Radical just raised, I think, like the largest growth fund in Canadian history. It's at like pretty much the same scale as a Valley VC. The capital's here, the talent has always been here, and now the market is here, the customers are here. Canadian enterprises are betting on our players. And so I think my advice to entrepreneurs or folks who are starting here, there has never been a better moment to build a tech company in Canada.
Great, that's a perfect segue to go to you, Minister Solomon. From a national perspective, why is it important that Canada's largest enterprises are choosing to prioritize AI adoption, and what role the government can play in reinforcing or accelerating those adoptions?
You know, thanks, Isabel. I've been here now for a couple days, met many of you. I really don't need to say anything. This is it.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, this materializes what we're all talking about. What Dave Mackay and RBC and Fontini have done with North, betting on Aiden, that stemmed from a meeting. What John and Mirko have done. You know, I was meeting with Mirko. They have an incredible AI issue. Are you using Canadian? Okay, where? Contacts Aiden, and it happens. And this is betting on Canadians, building on Canadians. But the first thing, frankly, is you got to know that it's here. You know, all in is one way of making that aware. I'll give you an example. You know, I met with a foreign dignitary yesterday who said, you know, I only thought Canada had Cohere and a couple of other companies. Now I realize you have thousands of incredible companies. The world doesn't know about us, but even Canadians don't know about us. So step one, and I'll echo what Aiden said, you got to bet on each other. And not because it's Canadian, because it's the best. And when Aiden says, oh, these are hard customers, good. There is no patriotism discount in quality. Our government doesn't want that, your enterprises don't want that, and your customers don't want that. They don't think, well, we'll accept less because it's Canadian. We want more because it's Canadian. This is the best stuff. We would stand up the banks, the telcos, all of the work you're doing, Cohere, the incredible company. You have to compete with the best. So that's first of all. So the demands are high, but the skill level's high. What can we do? And when the Prime Minister appointed me as the first Minister of AI and Digital Innovation, it was that recognition that Aidan talked about, that this was a transformative time. And when Fontini says, yeah, it was just a bunch of us a couple years ago, the world has arrived. They've caught up to Canada, and they're betting a lot of money on it. So we've got to do a couple of things. First, you need the capital. So giving mechanisms to unlock capital for entrepreneurs. This is the age of the entrepreneur. The best tools in the world are available to more people than ever before. So a small company can work with a multinational company and actually scale and grow together because the tools are powerful. That is the golden opportunity for the entrepreneur. So get the capital. Aidan mentioned Jordan Jacobs at Radical. They do great work, but there's lots of incredible VC companies here across the country. There's angel investors. We need policies that will facilitate that, and we are very aware. We had a budget coming. That's part of it. 2, you need the compute. We have a $2 billion compute fund. We invested in Cohere, but in others to build that compute capacity. We opened up a $300 million compute access fund, so small and medium-sized enterprises, which is 95% of our ecosystem, has access to that compute. Oversubscribed, why the demand is high, that's good. So we'll continue on that. You need the customers, not just when you see Bell and RBC and any of our blue chip companies, our banks, our telcos, our companies like Shopify, great companies betting on each other, using each other. That's a validator, a legitimizer, and it creates this virtuous circle because more people crowd in, more capital crowds in, and people say, oh, they're using it. We should bet on Canadian. And then Canadian companies are looking to other Canadian companies, and again, alongside international partners. And then the government plays a role. We have a role, not just on the supply side to create incentive structures, SIF grants, and our compute access fund, but on the demand side, on the procurement side, whether it's through our defense industrial policies, which allows us to reposition many of you as dual-use technologies in the quantum sector and the AI sector that has dual use. Really, really important to think about your companies as what are the dual use in our national security to secure our information and our data in our country. And there's dual use, and there'll be opportunities through the defense industrial strategy. But also the government itself has to walk the walk, and with my fellow minister, Joël Lightbound, the Minister of Government Transformation, having MOUs to make, like we have one with Cohere and other companies, to adopt the technology ourselves and to use it to serve Canadians better. Faster service on it from CRA, faster service for immigration, faster access to passports. Countries are using this technology in the service of Canadians. Canadians won't adopt this unless they see that it serves them better. You have to experience it to bet on it. And then you need the talent, retaining the talent and attracting the talent. So you need the compute, you need the customer, you need the capital, you need the talent. Those are really, really important. And government plays a role in that. And we are playing with our digital sovereignty strategy that I outlined a little yesterday here, and I'll outline a little more tomorrow. But over the next number of months, you'll see the details on the political side, the operational side, the technical side, the legislative side, so we can define what that means in the context of this remarkable moment where Canadians are looking not just to these three remarkable players on stage, but to you as part of Team Canada to show and demonstrate why this is a job-creating, wealth-creating, prosperity-creating tool to serve Canadians and improve our quality of life. And we, as a government, federally, provincially, and municipally, have a role to play.
Yeah, and we've celebrated Cohere a lot this week, and that's great. I wish for next year that we have 10 more Cohere on this stage. That's the recipe you think that will bring us to 10 more Cohere?
Look, it's not just, you don't have to have just 10 more LLMs, there's going to be billion-dollar companies springing up. I could name, there are companies, I know Mike Murchison from Ada was here. You know, this is an incredible company that is using agentic AI in a way to serve to serve customers all over the world. Cohere is here. Louis Tatuska, like, this is an incredible company that these are, there are companies here that, Global Relay, I met the CEO, Martin Roy. Incredible company, very few people know, doing billions of dollars of business. It's an incredible company. The thing about Canada is it's kind of strange. We're the biggest small village in the world, and yet no one seems to know what anyone else is doing. So, like, it's time to, you know, someone said to me, oh, we don't really have a big data archive company. I'm like, well, you know, OpenText has been around for decades. They have 22,000 employees. People are like, wait, what? Yeah, what? In another country, they would be massive brand. So it's time for us. I feel like this is the moment before the Olympics where we loved our athletes, but we didn't want to own the podium. And then we had the own the podium moment. Folks, this is our digital own the podium moment, and we got to champion our winners.
Great. And all in will be the structure of your podium. Great. If we look ahead, starting with you, John, the most transformative opportunity for your organization that you see in the next 2-3 years following the project you're doing?
It's an interesting, I actually like the second question. I can answer that one even better. But
of course.
The first one, if you take a look, and my lens is very different, so we look at everything internal to the external. Right now, contact center is the solution, contact center AI. Minister talked about that a little bit. There's an incredible opportunity right now. It's an on-ramp to AI for any company with a customer service front end that they can do extraordinary things to leverage, enable better outcomes, more intuitive, faster, you name it. So we're one of the earliest adopters internally, but we're also the one taking that to market at scale in the public and private sector with large organizations. I think the other dimension there that's really interesting, and this is something we pioneered with the software stacks deeper in the mix. So that's the front end, but you actually want to get work done. So we've built the relationships where you can drill that into the workflows and process stacks and go end to end to deliver outcomes better and faster. So there's a wonderful opportunity that's on deck to bring that to literally hundreds, if not thousands of companies, and we're in the midst of it. So very excited, because for most companies, enterprise AI is hard. And they need a way to do that at scale. They need a place to start that's going to deliver an ROI that they can show to their board or their executive. This is a sweet spot.
Great. So for the telecom sector, there's a plan. In the banking sector, how do you prepare your organization for broader adoptions or for larger projects coming ahead for you?
So it's important that you give people access to tooling like this, that they get to use at home, that they have access to that when they come into the office every day. And you provide the training and the support that's necessary to make sure they know how to leverage. We find that it does take, there is a bit of a curve, a learning curve, as with Gen AI, with prompting, people, the more they use it, they get better. There are tricks, and you gotta try it yourself for a period of time before you become really efficient at it. We're really excited about what this means for our business and what it means for the relationship we have with our clients moving forward. We're now looking at opportunities where we can drive productivity up so that we can, in our capital markets business, we're covering more stocks and more equities every day because we're able to give people the tools that they can understand the market every day as they come in. Otherwise, they would be limited by what a human can read every day and opine on. So we can serve our clients better because we have broader positions and opinions across our equities research business. In operations, across our IT, the world of enterprises like us, and I'm sure it's the same for Bell as well, we have a lot of legacy systems in the background, and you have the option. Either you're going to do the work to slowly modernize and integrate one to the next so you can leverage what that pipe connection does for you, or you can build an agent and secure it enough so you feel comfortable to use it, and all of a sudden you can have data move around the enterprise, transactions getting fulfilled faster, accounts reconciled faster. We're very excited about what all of that means for us.
And don't you both feel that you're more attractive to talent now? Then, like, we've been talking, and journalists are asking questions all the time, like, are we going to cut job, and will there be less job? But there's an aspect we don't talk much, which is making you both way more attractive to the talent and the brain that our country produces.
For our business, absolutely. Like, this is, I think, RBC is now ranked as #1 in Canada as a bank in AI maturity, #3 in the world, behind two very, very large banks, much bigger than us. So people notice, right? And top talent is attracted to enterprises that are serious about giving state-of-the-art tooling, where innovation happens, where boundaries are being pushed, and your career doesn't stagger. And so the conversation with talent has absolutely changed. I should say, I first met Aidan when he was a PhD, I think, student back in Toronto, in a Borealis office where they were presenting some of the research papers they had published. And I was talking to Aidan about, hey, do you want to join RBC? Come have a job here. This was 10 years ago. And he said, I think I'll start a company. I said, okay, go. Maybe we'll work together in the future. And here we are today. And I think, look, sometimes it's not you don't flip a switch in an enterprise and all of a sudden you become a buyer of Canadian tech. Like, you really got to educate yourself. Because there's the easy way. There's the way of buying American products that most enterprises would do, that come in with a lot of safety net around it.
It's really easy.
And there's a leap of faith with startups, Canadian startups, and will this work, will they not work? But in this case, really what made things work was we take AI, the risk around AI, very seriously. Like, when we got into AI as a bank, we never talked about, do we want to change the relationship we have with the client? Do we want to compromise how we use data? Absolutely not. We earn the right to bank Canadians every day, so that's non-negotiable. No risk taken on that front. So how are we going to do it then? This technology comes with risks. And so when we buy AI, I want to be able to call up the person that builds it, and I want them to be able to explain to me how every line of that code works. And they do that. They're with us in the data center, writing code. The founders have been with us. And that's how we rolled it out. And we feel very proud that we did that. And then, great, it was also Canadian. That was not the first point of attraction here. It was just a really good partnership.
One question I know the crowd has that I really want to ask you is, do you see, like, because now being on the global stage, what are the major differences you see from the Canadians in buying your solution versus the rest of the world?
The difference is, before we had any Canadian customers, we were out in the world selling. We established very strong partnerships down in the United States with Oracle, with Dell. We went to Korea and we partnered with LG. We went to Japan and we partnered with Fujitsu. We partnered with SAP in Germany. So we sold our technology to the world first. We were an exporter first and foremost, and we still are. The overwhelming majority of our revenue is outside of Canada, like 85, 90% of it. So we saw that world first. I think coming back into Canada and focusing on the organizations we have here, there's the like before times that I was describing 2+ years ago, and then there's the now times. I think in the present day, there's a high degree of ambition, there's risk tolerance, there's a broad awareness that we need to grow our economy. And to grow an economy, you need to invest. You need to take risks, you need to put your neck out. You don't grow an economy by doing the minimum. you are competing on the global stage for talent, for business, and so you need to be ambitious. And that ambition, I think I see awoken within Canadians. In the private sector, in the public sector, we want to build this country, we want to protect this beautiful thing that we've created. And so coming back home, 2 years ago, for the majority of Cohere, we're kind of like secret Canadians. You know, we were selling out into the world. We'd always say, oh, we have an office in SF, we have an office in New York and Toronto, as kind of like an aside. Now we wear it on our chest. The whole world loves Canada. We are so trusted, so respected. The Canadian brand is such a warm and good one. I just think our country has an extraordinary opportunity in front of it. We just need to decide to actually take it, to invest, to take that risk, and I see us doing it.
So that's a good segue to what I wanted to ask you, Minister. So we're slow. So how can we make sure that adoption go at a much faster race and a faster pace, I should say? And how should Canada measure success against other nations? What would success looks like for us, like in 5 years?
So first, we gotta just, like, we're in a moment, okay? And business needs a moment, and in politics there's a moment, and in our lives there's kind of these hinge moments where you make a decision because of a series of opportunities, and we are in one. That political realignment has changed people's compass at the same time as this technological revolution. And that moment has realigned a bunch of things and unlocked, I think Aidan's described it well, this sense of, you know, Canada's not something that you inherit, it's something you build, right? It belongs in our hands. It is not something that you can take for granted. You got to bet on it. And you got to make sure it is, you got to build and protect at the same time. And then to do that, you have the confidence to go out in the world and become global. And so Canada is welcoming. We want the world here. Prime Minister just made a free trade deal with Indonesia. This is a remarkable economy. We are, you know, he's going to Europe again. We need to trade with the world. We have more free trade relationships than any country in the world. To Aidan's point, people want to do business here. But we also have to make sure that we don't have an old habit where we are blessed with competitive advantages and resources, and there's a rip it, strip it, ship it mentality that, you know, we take our, you know, we cut down our wood and send it over to Europe, and then we come back and pay 10 times more for the furniture, right? So, like, we can build it and export it. So first, we got to recognize the moment. I think all these companies have done it, and all of you have done it. So that's really important. How do we measure? Adoption is interesting because it has to do with trust, and I've said this a lot, and I'll keep reiterating it. You know, technology moves at the speed of innovation, and adoption moves at the speed of trust. People have to trust things. This is not new. This is the good thing. My father was like, I will never put my credit card on the internet. I was like, yes, you will. You know, you will, don't worry, because when you realize you can order food and it'll be all over the internet. And then what about cybercrime? And I was like, yeah, but you bought a house and there's still house theft. Like, you're gonna have to take protective measures, but that doesn't mean you're not gonna buy a house or you're not gonna put your credit card on the internet. And AI is going to be very similar. It will take time. It'll take understanding. It'll take frankly, and our responsibility, a regulatory structure. That's why we've talked about updating our 25-year-old privacy laws, which is coming, about your privacy and your data and your sense of security without compromising your sense of engagement with the world. So that kind of, as I always say, our sovereignty, our confidence with our own material is not solitude. We still engage with the world. The world invests with us. We trade with the world. We want partners with the world. That's a good thing. That's the world we want, but you want to be able to make sure that you got an insurance policy. So that's a success. So driving up adoption rates, making sure that, so we'll measure that. How are we using AI and how are we using it for good? And that'll take trust. We got to measure our patents. We got to keep our IP here. We cannot be branch plant nation. We got to be AI headquarter nation. So keeping people and our IP and our ideas here. So that's another way that we'll metric and that we'll measure it. And then, of course, the world will come here, and it's got to drive investment, and we want that. So there's lots of ways to measure how we build this economy of the future that has a digital sovereignty, and that's going to happen. The adoption, though, it is. I will say this, and this isn't true for this technology. The statistic you read about Canadians' reluctance on adoption, that was 7 months ago, is not the same statistic as today. The businesses that 7 months ago were saying, I'm not sure, are now saying, I'm getting more confident. They recognize these tools. It is changing by the day. It also means we got to talk in, frankly, just regular language. This is a tool. How will it improve people's lives? And if they feel it's safe and useful, they will use it. If they don't, like any product, they will be reluctant. And we can't really afford reluctance for too long in a competitive world.
And in conclusion, in a few words, we'll go around for everyone. Like, what would be your single piece of advice or your best advice to those 500 top companies in Canada into adopting AI? What would be game changer for them?
I would say there's no excuse. Like, this is not 2020 anymore. We can complain all we want about what the government may have done or hasn't done, but, well, they did invest. And there's a lot of talent now in this country. The institutes are training a lot of people. Hire them. Then look at the ecosystem around you. Now there are a lot of technologies that you can call up people. They can be at in your back door, and you can chat about what that means for your company. And the compute is here as well. That's not an excuse anymore either. So you got to get going. It's go time.
Great. And we're almost finished. John, do you want to say a few words? What would you,
Sure.
your piece of advice?
I can't promise them that we can make enterprise AI easy, but I promise we can make it easier. And we've invested and will invest probably $1.25 billion on a TechCo, on a relationship, being the biggest commercial customer of Aiden's, and on our AI fabric. We can make it easier, but it's not quite easy yet, Aiden. We'll keep working on it.
We'll keep working on it. Yeah, we want hard customers.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. You clearly showed us that Canada is not behind, that we have global adopters, we have global leaders like Cohere. Our ecosystem is unique. We've seen it in the last 2 days, but we need to do more to stay in the race, and the game is just starting. Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.